And welcome back to Captain Reviews. This is going to be episode number 8 here, and so we're going to review the next 5 vehicles that have been posted to my Discord, so you can go ahead and follow the link in the description if you would like your build to be reviewed. The first thing we'll do is we'll go through the workshop. So the first build is going to be the SA-H60 Lunn Light Trainer Helicopter. So let's go ahead through the pictures. Very cool looking helicopter, nice renders. Very cool. Nice little helicopter. Small builds can be difficult just because of all the microcontrollers you have to hide. So it's always nice to see a nice small helicopter. All right, so 2 collections, Skies Hangar and Scarborough Rescue Services, created by Olli and Jan. The SA-H60 Lunn. Very nice workshop page as usual. Description: the SA-H60 Lunn is a small single-engine light helicopter primarily designed to serve the role of a trainer. Thanks to its very efficient engine, it offers up to 2 hours of flight time on a single tank. Despite being a small helicopter, it features a slide winch so it can conduct SAR operations, just as any SRS helicopter. It also has the option to participate in firefighting operations as it can carry a water bucket. Manual startup. Battery 1 and 2 bus on, avionics master on, ADIRS on, engine fuel valve open, engine fuel pump on, parking brake set check, lights as required, nav beacon strobes, rotor brake off, engine master on, gen on, transponder, left bottom touchscreen set on. Once engines are started, orange flashing lights will turn static. Engine idle / flight set flight, parking brake off, autopilot. Altitude hold, heading modes, heading hold, waypoint heading hold. Cruise mode. To change mode, simply press change heading mode. The autopilot will work once a mode is selected and the autopilot master is on. You can set the target altitude / heading on the keypads on the bottom dash. To enter custom waypoints, you can either use the map by pressing A. We'll add a waypoint to your current position on the map. L will clear this last waypoint, and C will clear all waypoints. Or you can use the keypad in the middle to add a waypoint. Technical data. Crew 1 to 2 pilots, winch master. Capacity 2 plus 3. Length 12.25 meters. Width 2.75 meters. Height 4 meters. Main rotor diameter 12.75 meters. Max range 142 knots, 264 max speed rather. 142 knots, 264 kilometers an hour. Max range 600 kilometers, 324 nautical miles. Max endurance 2+ hours. Engine 1 Skytech JT8-2. Unit power 952 horsepower or 710 kilowatts. Max takeoff weight of 6,020 kilograms. Dry mass 1,964 kilograms. Fuel capacity 3,701 liter or 3,970 liters, 794 kilograms at 3,000 RPM. It's a nice schematic. I like that. Credits: Urine Z Gyro, heavily modified, Clara renders and 3D model, Serpentine SRS logo, and the link for the Discord. All right, so here's the helicopter. Let's go ahead and take a walk around. So it looks like a probe here. It's a good use of an altimeter and then barrels for probe. I like that. Temperature gauge, a camera, our light. Looks like potentially firefighting. I'm not sure that is there. Just decoration maybe. Nice paint job. Good detailing there with the name and the SRS logos and badges and everything. I don't know if I want to press buttons yet. Yep, I'll press this one. This one's service panel. Total fuel, service light, fuel hose anchor, and electric cable. A nice XML edited gear for a 3-point suspension. I like that. Nice exposed turbine exhaust. More logos on the tail. Very nice. Good detailing here. Bunch of flares. A couple rescue harnesses. I like the step. This is an interesting way. We'll have to see how this operates in the air. Nice glass on the doors there. Gives good visibility. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. Let's open this. Can we open this rear door from here? Nope. All right, so we have there we go, 3 in the back there. I'm just going to make sure I have the startup procedures. And I like a good startup procedure for sake of reality. Good simulated system. So let's go ahead. So you want battery 1, 2, bus on. So let's go ahead and find it. Okay, let me just kind of get out of my seat. Gen, bat 2 bus. Engine idle flight, engine main. Increase RPMs. Anti-ice. Emergency transponder. Engine 1 fuel valve. Lights, nav, strobe, beacon. Engine 1 pump. Lights, formation. Light spot. And cabin light, what is that? Rotor brake, okay. Cam link frequency, 8 ears. Avionics master. Anti-ice probe. Anti-ice engines. Anti-ice rear rotor. Anti-ice main rotor. Battery 1 bus gen. Okay, good. So let's go ahead off battery 1. Often you'll choose one battery set or the other. So if you have a failure, and you also don't want to tax both batteries, that way you alternate them. Tends to be the operation. Avionics master. So let's see if I recall where that is over here. 8 ears on. Okay. 8 ears on. Engine fuel valve open. So I saw it. Let me see if I can remember where I saw it. Engine 1 fuel. We'll turn the fuel pump on. Valve was supposed to go first, but need to find it again. Those are all lights. Oh, it was right here. Okay. It's good they're in order. That's generally how you do. You'll have electrical systems. You'll have avionics. And then these are in line, so that's how you do it. So you do click, click. So that makes sense. Just me trying to find them. Parking brake set and checked, so let's check that off. And on the dash, I imagine. Yep, right there. That's about where it should be. Usually, that you put a parking brake where both operators can touch it. So release parking brake off means that they're on, so that is good. Lights is required. So for startup, we're just gonna go ahead and we'll do beacon. Then put your beacon on. That tells everybody around you that you're starting up. Rotor brake off. Rotor brake is coming off. Engine master on. All right. Gen, I'll have the gen come on once the engine started. You generally do that just so you're not, again, taxing the engine. Just going to quickly shut damage off in case we slide over and hit the side here. It's just in these hangars. Sometimes the aircraft want to kind of slide over. So we'll wait till we get the engine status. Light goes to static, and then I'm going to turn on the generator. You often do that just because you want to have a certain RPM, so that you're not immediately putting load in the engine. You want to get it up and running, up and spinning, and then you can put load on it. Speed it up just a hair. I know it didn't save me to do that. Alright, let's go ahead and put the gen on anyway. Alright, that is still flashing. Alright, gen on. Transponder, left bottom touchscreen set on. Alright, left bottom touchscreen set on. Alright. And then once engines are started, orange light, flashing light, turn static, engine idle / flight, set flight. Okay. So let's find flight. There it is. So I can hear it spinning up. And then last thing we need to do, there we go, we have solid now. Alright, we'll go ahead and we will release the parking brake. And I'm going to taxi out. Oh, whoa, a little bit sensitive there. That's why I'm glad I had damage off. I'm right next to the wall, so just getting used to the feeling of the craft here. bumping something here. That's my fault. Let me translate over. Okay, that's probably just me. I'm gonna taxi out. So with the Z controller, I find it's very. Let me kill this down to where it was. I think I clicked it up. So yeah, the Z controller I find a little bit stiff and a little bit hand-holdy for me, but that's personal. That's just personal preference. I kind of like to have a little bit more control, but I also have a lot more flight experience than the average bear. So, all right, good. So we're up and running. Let's go ahead and we'll go through the H menu here. AD roll, WS pitch, left, right, yaw, up, down, collective. 1, signal to winch, bucket. 2, push to tuck, and fire flare. So, all right, let's go ahead and I'm gonna just kind of crank and back it out of here. You know, that's the only thing I don't really care about with that Z controller is that it you know, pretty much, you know, anything that takes control away from me, I'm not a huge fan of, but, you know, that's just personal preference because I like to be in control of it. So, yeah, it's a little bit hand-holdy for me, but that's about it. I really like these screens here. I like the, wonder if these are newer screens that Sky has yet to release. I usually use Sky's PFDs, and I like these. Yeah, I like the gray background, the black bottom. Outside air temperature, we have feet per minute. Just the M looks like an H because of how small the lettering has to be in game. So feet per minute. Fate 119. I like the chevron type of flight director. Yep, that's a roll slip. You know, chevron there, that pink there. Knots 0. Ground speed. Have our compass on the bottom, both read out in a 3-digit form, and then have a moving compass. I really like this. This is a good good color usage on this, and really easy to use and informative. Let's go ahead through here. Change target cabin temp. So we have target cabin temp, so we can turn the heater on. We can change our temp there. All right. Battery 1, 2 voltage, gen output. Fuel usage, kilograms per minute. I like it. I like the weight. Using weight for. Let's just go to. Let's just go to 1200 here, and for the transponder. Rotor RPM and engine RPM, engine M1. So I like all the realistic gauges with N1 section. Total fuel, estimated max flight, engine turbine temp, engine throttle. Don't forget ADIRs. Don't forget ADIRs. Map here, so we can just quickly go through this. Saw what the this said before, but I'm just going to go through. So. A will add a waypoint to your current position map. L will clear the last waypoint. C will clear all waypoints, and you can use the keypad to add a waypoint. So just do this really quick. So we'll add a waypoint, and then the target waypoint will go in, and there it is on the map. As you can see, nice and close to us, so we'll actually zoom in a little bit. All right, and then let's go ahead and, what's this? This is target altitude. Let's go ahead. What are we at now? Presently, we are at 119 feet. See, like, you know, this isn't a real criticism of the Z controller. It's more my preference. Again, you know, right now, this controller, it does so much automation. Personally, that's not my favorite, just because I like to have to pay attention to the aircraft. Like, literally, I don't have any autopilot on now, and you see I'm doing nothing, and it's holding its position perfectly, and that's excellent for most people, you know, but as somebody who's, you know, who was a commercial pilot and, you know, knows how to pilot craft, you know, with a higher experience level than most, you know, for me, I like a craft that if I don't pay attention, I'm going to run into problems, and then I have to actively, you know, I have to actually, like, pay attention. Like me looking at the gauges and everything, I couldn't do that with my hands off the controls in a real aircraft, unless I put the autopilot on. So, not really a criticism, it's just a personal preference thing. So we're at 119 feet. Let's go ahead and just put 200 feet in here. All right, and then we have autopilot master comes on, altitude hold comes on. We have an autopilot master light. Alright, let's go ahead and let's go to cruise mode. And let's see. I think we want heading mode. Heading mode. There we go. And then does cruise mode take us there? It does. Alright, so that's kind of how the autopilot works. You have your autopilot master, you have your light on that, you have target heading. You can either do heading mode, or you can do cruise modes, go to the waypoint. It shut the autopilot back off. Alright, so that works well. We put a target heading in there, so will this go to the next waypoint? I'm not sure. Go to heading mode here. Okay, this switches our heading mode. So target heading and waypoint heading. Okay. So that's that. Autopilot master comes back on. So it's killing the autopilot master when it's kind of finished that waypoint. Understood? Alright, so we're kind of holding on this. Are we backing up? What are we doing here? That's just probably me not knowing how to use it properly. Have our radio here. Radio, comms. And that's our toggle. So it's nice to see there's a good radio here. You have your, does that look like time? You have your active and you have your standby. So generally what you do IRL is you have two frequencies in most of your radios, and so you'll put in, you have your active and you have your standby, and so what you do is, let's say that, you know, the first frequency you're going to contact is clearance. Clearance is 119.7, so you put in 119.7 in the standby, and then you would flip it. And then the next frequency you're going to talk to is ground, and ground is 120.65, so you type in 120.65. You talk to clearance, you get your clearance, you would then switch to ground, and then you would put in tower. Tower's 119.8. You put in 119.8, you'd contact ground, you'd taxi out on ground, ground would hand you off to tower, they'd say contact tower 119.8, and then you would swap out to your last frequency, and then you would put in your departure frequency. Departure is 132.7, 132.7 goes in, and then, so you're always alternating between your radios, how you do it IRL. So, let's see, camera night vision, that's cool. Camera zooms in and zooms out. I like the probe. I like to be able to see the parts like that. I like having a backup compass ball. Looks really cool with having a manifold behind it. You know, having that backup compass in. A lot of good detailing in here. Good color scheme in here. Let's see, what else am I on? Let me just take these modes off. And that goes to 0, so it looks like a loop. Anti-ice probe, does it move? Probably not. Anti-ice engines, anti-ice rear rotor, main rotor, transponder. I think we could put on, I didn't put on my nav lights. Spots, strobes. We have oxygen mask in here. Let's go ahead and take a look outside with the lights on. So nice nav lights on the sides there. We have a tail light, we have our beacon. And we have a spot in the front, very nice. Alright, let's go ahead and see what else we have. Underside winch up and down, so we have winch control on this seat. This tilts the spotlight, so we can go spot down there. As you can see, it's tilting down. And then we can change cabin light brightness there. Alright, let's go ahead and jump in the back here. I like these seats, these XML, are these XML? I think they are. Yeah, these are XML. These are nice. I've seen these in some of the other crafts. Light winch. More winch controls over here, so that's nice to have more winch controls. And how do we get this door open? That's a question. There we go. Door open right there. So a little bit tight in here, but as you can see, we can get through. So that's nice for scaling reasons. Let's go ahead and jump in the harness. No control showing on this, so I don't know if you can actually control it by the harness or not. I'm kind of, let me look over my shoulder, see if I can't get in the seat. Nope. Alright, so it looks like you have to have people help you, which, you know, definitely with the SRS, it seems like they do lots of rescues as a group, so, you know, it's not necessarily, it's not really realistic you would be controlling the winches yourself anyway. That's just kind of how I do it because I often play alone. Yeah, this harness I don't think has controls either. So very good helicopter. I like this a lot. Great paint scheme. Um, you know, very well detailed. Let's look at some of the details from the exterior. It's interesting to me, you know, there might be plenty of examples of this, but I don't know any that have dual intakes like this um, for a single turbine. But you know, it's just because I can't recall any. Certainly doesn't mean that there aren't any like that. And even if there aren't, it's a nice, unique design. Really good XMLing on the pipes here for the winch. Looks natural and integrated. It doesn't look, you know, garish. Looks very good. So I really like this helicopter a lot. I like its size. I like that it's, you know, SRS has a wide range of helicopters of different sizes. So that's nice to see. No real criticisms to this, just some personal preference stuff. You know, again, my personal preference is I like a little bit more of a hands-on flying experience, but that's just me. As you know, like I've said before, the most boring flying I ever did was in the airlines because you know, you don't get to fly much yourself. You know, you're constantly on autopilot, and so when you have a system like this that's a little bit more hands-on than I prefer, but it's certainly, you know, not a negative to it. It's just a personal preference thing where, you know, I like it when I'm not paying attention to the helicopter that it drifts, and that it might change altitude on its own like a real one would, and you'd have to trim it or you'd have to put on an autopilot to actually hold you because of that. So that's just personal preference. I really like this PFD. I hope Sky releases this PFD. Eventually, this, you know, for a HUD, I like a more clear and open. For if I put it into a panel like this, I really like this color scheme and backdrop. So really an excellent helicopter, very good. Like, one thing, I'm not super big on with the Z microcontroller is just like, see how it's like, it's a little bit like, it tries to always center me, so see how it's like kind of wobbly? That's just because it's trying to center me. So like, I can't disrupt the flight characteristics of this on purpose to make it do what I want to, but it still flies beautifully. It's just, again, it's a personal preference thing. It's me being an aviation nerd. I very much, you know, I very much always want to be in control. You know, I've always been an equipment operator, and so, you know, I always want to be in control, and that's the only thing that, personal preference-wise. But again, excellent build. Really enjoyed it. Really awesome build. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll look at the next one. So this is the LET Kunovice L13SE/SW Vitat-Motor glider. So I've never flown a motor glider in real life. It'd be kind of cool to do, or any glider really. Everything I flew was powered. So very cool. Made by Cromoly and Jan. More items from Sky's hangar. I won't keep repeating the name just because I get in the habit of repeating it like 10 times. Make sure to read the manual in the description, of course. I will. If you like the creation, please leave a like. A bit of history. The Vivat is a motorized modification of the legendary L13 Blanik. Blanik is a two-seater all-metal monoplane trainer glider developed in the 50s, flown all around the world thanks to its remarkable durability and flight characteristics. Over 3,000 aircraft were built between 1958 and 1978. Many of them still fly today in aviation clubs with aerobatic groups. Ideas to motorize were present at the beginning of the production, but first official prototype built by the Kunovice factory was produced and flown in 1978. The redesigned front section featured a side-by-side seat instead of the tandem configuration on the L13S. Total of 164 Vivats with 6 variants were built between 1980 and 1996. Much like the Blanik, many Vivats still fly nowadays, but their limited production make them a rare sight. Every year, a navigation race called the Vitat Tour is organized by Aero Club Tabor near Tabor, Czech Republic. By coincidence, my home airfield as well. Very cool. You can help me with how to pronounce some of these things. I do my best. My goal with this build was to create a realistic experience of the plane, as I've flown both the Blanik and the Vivat many times. Now I'm adding extra accents to them. Certain things were unable to replicate to the exact detail due to the limitation of the game, so I settled for a semi-realistic setup so that anyone can use it while still giving you the feeling of sitting in a real plane. In my opinion, the best way to enjoy the plane is with HOTAS. If you If you have throttle lever, I recommend that you change the up-down axis for the throttle on the seat to reset instead of sticky. All right, so I'm going to do it with mouse and keyboard. That's just what I have set up. Manual startup. Parking brake set can be found on the left leg, red stripe. Throttle 1/4, then decrease as the engine heats up. Close by 120C, up, down on the seat. Okay, mixture, neutral, master switch on, mag on, fuel valve open, cooling vent shut. So it must be like cowl flaps. Hold ignition for about 2 seconds. Wait until engine temperature reaches at least 120 degrees. Cooling vents open. So cowl flaps open again. Parking brake released. Takeoff flaps half, air brake 0, throttle full, level the aircraft with ailerons and push it a little forward onto the main wheel. As it gains speed, gently pull up. So kind of a standard tail dragger is try to get the tail wheel up and then rotate. After takeoff, flap 0, throttle cruise, plus or minus 80% or 140 kilometers per hour. Gear up. So we'll wait for positive rate as well. Landing, flaps up, gear down, flaps full, gear down. Throttle 60 to 70%, around 100 to 110 kilometers per hour. So I have to keep an eye on this. I tend to work in knots, so I need to make sure I'm watching that I'm coming in a little bit faster than I would normally look to go. Air brake is needed. Shut down. Parking brake set. Throttle closed, fuel valve closed, magneto off, master switch off. Additional notes, the aircraft is trimmed for cruise at 140 with flaps and gear up. Other configuration require retrimming, so we'll trim as necessary. You can do this. Yep. I know how to trim. You can adjust the mixture as you feel. Run a little richer. Mixture might yield greater performance, but also heat. So we'll run it. We'll see how I might do a little bit of a leaning process, but we'll see. Generally, if I'm going to stay in the pattern, so we'll just keep full mixture in the pattern probably. If you're new to flying, I recommend leaving it as it is. The aircraft simulates engine heat as real as we could get it. The operational limits are 120 to 230 C. At cruise throttle, you can expect temperature to be around 200 to 210. If you exceed these thresholds, the engine will gradually lose power. The never exceed temp is 260. So it's cool to see simulated throttles. I wish we had some real ones in game for off a panel. That would be really cool. But these are really well done. So we have throttle, we have mixture, we have flaps and air brakes. I'm curious if in the real aircraft they're colored the same color. Generally, just for information, for most people, the one thing they do that's pretty cool in a lot of, especially general aviation aircraft is, you'll have mixture prop throttle, depending on if you have prop control or not, and they're actually different shapes and different colors often, not always. And what that allows you to do is quickly out of the corner of your eye, you can grab a color, or you can feel them to feel what their different shapes are, so that you can grab them while you're not actually looking at them. Specs: 8.5 meters, wingspan 16.75, empty weight 548 kilograms, fuel 3,341, top speed 240 kilometers an hour, cruise speed 140, range at 230 kilometers at 140 kilometers per hour. Special thanks to Matthew Jam and Datlima 25 for the engine and heat simulation systems. Do not upload this plane without my permission. Okay, so let's go ahead. Just going to put the startup procedure where I can see it. And we'll get going here. All right, so here we are with the Vivat. Let's go ahead and do a quick walk around. So nice, thin, long glider wing. I really like that. Nice color scheme. Very cool. These are your outriggers here. Good XML work on these. Really nice, long, I don't know if the one we have a flap and an aileron. We'll just have to see. Very cool XMLing on this. Nice work. Very cool. These type of, especially kind of thin builds, are tough just because, you really, it's very hard to hide all the microcontrollers you need to. So a lot of good XMLing in the wings, which are probably necessary to be able to integrate control surfaces and keep the weight down. Let me try to get that button pressed there. All right, canopy, there we go. All right, so we have a two-seater in here, which is nice. Let's go ahead and start going through this. All right, so here is your parking brake. We'll leave the parking brake. Brake is spelled incorrectly, so you may want to edit that. B-R-A-K-E. I do that sometimes as well. We're set. Throttle is 1/4, so throttle is our long one here. And the way we can tell that again is they added a diagram here, so you see throttle up, down there, fuel. So again, my recommendation would just be, I don't know what the real one is. Maybe the real one's colored like this, but often you'll see that the throttle and the mixture are different colors. That just makes it easy on site to know what you're doing, but makes sense that the throttle is the longer of the two. So let's go ahead and let's start to, we'll advance our throttle with the up key. So try to go back to, I'm trying to follow the procedure as is, as I am being instructed to do so. So let's go ahead and let's go up to about 1/4. So right about there, probably there maybe. Okay, then decreases as that's mixture to neutral, so that's in the neutral position. Master switch is on, so let's go ahead and find the master switch. Master switch is on. There comes that same radio from the other build. Magneto's coming on. All right, fuel valve is open. Where is fuel valve? Mag, master, fuel valve, right above it. Okay, makes sense. Yep. And then cooling vents shut. So cooling vents off. I assume that's closed. I assume it's this cowl flap here. Let me go ahead and actuate it just so that I know. Yeah, maybe it's not. Maybe you can't see it, but maybe it's not. Call it, I assume it's a cowl flap, but cowl flap's just a door that you open that allows more or less cooling. All right, hold ignition for 2 seconds. So we'll do that. 1,000, 2,000. All right, so we're gonna let the engine warm up. This is pretty normal. You really don't want to be putting load on an engine until it warms up. One of the reasons for this, you have oil in the sump. You need that oil to start moving around the engine. You also want to get the oil up to operational temperature. Oil is viscous, and so as you increase temperature, the oil becomes less dense, and it starts to move around a little bit. It helps to lubricate the parts, so you really want to wait. You don't want to start the car up and go on a cold day, especially a cold day. You have cold oil, it's very viscous, and it's not moving around, and so you're going to have lubrication issues, and you end up destroying your machine. So I can hear as the engine is warming up, we're actually gaining RPM as well, you can see, which is essentially you're reducing the resistance of the pistons because you are decreasing the viscosity of the oil. So I really like that simulation. That is super cool. So there's 120 right there. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll reduce our throttle so it says closed by 120. So we'll go to idle. I'm gonna go just above idle where it just wants to behave itself. So right about there. Generally, that's probably a proper procedure. Try to warm it up a little bit like that. You don't want it lugging either until the oil warms up. All right, so let's go ahead and all right, cooling vents are coming open now. All right, where's temp? There's temp. All right, parking brake is going to be released. So I'm curious what this parking brake is. Let me see if I can spot it. There we go. Oh, okay, it's just a flip switch. I was curious how that works. All right, so we're going to go out to the runway. We have a nice long straight wing. I can't imagine this needs too much runway. Curious where my canopy is. Let's look at our H menu. 80 roll, WS pitch, left, right, yaw. Up, down's throttle. I like up, down on throttle. That's my preferred way. 2 is brake. 4 is canopy, and 3 is push to talk. So let's shut our canopy. So a little bit of glazing with this XML. Makes this a little bit tough to see out of, but it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. It just makes it a little bit tough, so I might fly with... I'm not going to fly with canopy open, but I'll just taxi out with canopy open. I want to make sure I get on the runway and I don't have any issues. So let's kind of watch it, how it goes out. So as you can see, it's resting on its outward outrigger, so as I... oh, there's a dog on the runway. Seen a lot of animals on runways, never dogs. So let's go ahead. I'm going to press and hold the brake with 2. So when I increase the throttle, I'm actually going to set the parking brake while I'm going through this. As I increase the throttle, I'm going to use my ailerons to try to level the wings, get that outrigger off the ground. And then I'm going to pick the tail wheel up off the ground gently. I don't want to tag the prop on the ground. And then I'm going to gently rotate. So let's go ahead and we'll go through the procedure some more. So let's go ahead and go back to the cockpit. We want flaps to... flaps are going to be half. So let me double check. So because this is not... you can't see the label on that screen, I'm going to just check. So it's throttle, mixture, flaps, and air brake. Okay, good to know. So just double checking my controls. Okay. And so let's go ahead, and I just need to bring the procedure back up. So we want to go flaps to half. So right about there. We want air brake at 0. Throttle's going to go full. You know, I'm going to do the procedure, level the ailerons to get that outrigger off the ground. We'll do a little bit of forward elevator, try to get that tail wheel off the ground. And it says as it gains speed, gently pull up. So I'm going to ride the tail wheel just a hair, and I'm going to quickly pick it up off the ground when we're closer to rotation speed. So, engine stopped. Let me go ahead and start that up. All right, I don't know if you need mixture more than half. Generally, you'd want to go full mixture on takeoff, so I'm going to do that. I don't know if you need to or not. I dropped the throttle probably too much. Let's bring the throttle up here. Did I overheat? Okay, so I closed the cooling vents. All right, so that might have been it. I might have overheated. I overheated. I did the cooling vents incorrectly. I thought they were opening them. They were closing them. All right, so let me check. Just seeing if there's visual. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'll close the canopy now. And so just want to make sure I'm all set up to go here. So I think I am. So try not to hit that dog. All right, so I'm gonna do it in first person. You won't get the advantage of seeing me get my ailerons here. So I'm trying to pull that. Okay, so you see I'm leveling with my, getting that off the ground there. The outrigger off the ground. I'm just going to keep it on the ground a little bit more so I can focus here. And see if I can't get off the runway here. So I might need more runway here than I have. Alright, we are... Okay, so that's... Let me bring this back here. I'm going to use more runway. I tried cheating it by going half runway. Let's go ahead and use the whole runway. So I'm going to try to expedite this a little bit here. So mag, master, fuel valve, close cooling vents. So close cooling vents, quarter throttle. Crank it. Engine's up. Cooling vents are coming back to open. Let's get 120. I'm going to leave the mixture where it is. I might have caused problems by adding extra mixture. I'm going to go ahead and I'll taxi out with about half flaps there. Let me check them visually. Let's see if they visually are moving or not. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to taxi out here. And I'm going to use more runway, so we'll go ahead and we'll taxi out in third. So we'll use the whole runway. I was a little bit nervous about hitting the prop. So I might not have gotten that tail wheel off the ground enough to get our speed up. Just taxiing a little bit faster than it probably should be. There's my airspeed there. What's my rotation speed? No rotation speed, so rotation speed would be helpful just so that I know what speed I should be rotating at. I'm going to leave the canopy open on this just so that I get a little bit extra visibility on takeoff here. Half flaps. Air brake is 0. Let's go ahead and go full throttle. Can't really see my... There we go. Okay. So it was just something I did when I first tried taking off. Okay, after takeoff, we're positive rate. Alright, flaps are going to go... Positive rate doesn't matter. Actually, we would want... so flaps are forward or up? Is that the way? It must be. That makes sense. Throttle 80% or 140 kilometers an hour. Let's go ahead. I'm going to reduce my throttle just a bit there. Do a pattern here. I'm starting to get in the clouds. Whoa. Now I've had a little bit of a misperception with the ground, thinking that was a cloud. So that island I thought was a cloud bank, but it's not. So we're going to keep a pattern here. So I'm going to check my... Okay, let me add some throttle here. I'm going to keep a climb out here. So we'll just do a standard pattern. I'll come back and land. Let's go ahead and I'm going to try to check my procedural I'm working here. No landing procedure, but I should be able to figure this out. I think there was one. Let me see. Okay, let me check. I don't see a standard landing procedure, so I will just kind of do it as I would. So nice. I like the slow speed of this. You know, you can see it feels like a glider. It's kind of hangy. It has this nice thin wing. I'm kind of screwing up my pattern. I'm kind of encroaching on my downwind here. So let's push our downwind out a little bit there. We have no gear, so I'm going to start putting in some flap there. We'll go half flap. We'll do 100% flap on final. I'm going to try not to cheat myself and cut in too early. If you cut in too early, you reduce the amount of time you have to do things. You don't want to do big bomber patterns. You know, one thing you learn as you're training, and I was a flight instructor, is that you don't want to cut into your... You don't want to essentially reduce... You don't want to go out too far, because if you lose an engine, you can't glide back to the field. Let's put it that way. Alright, so I'm going to reduce... Oh, I'm making a mess of this here. So I'm going to do the proper procedure. I'm going to go around. Alright, so I'm going to go around full throttle. Flaps coming up. Alright, and I'm going to go full mixture, see how that behaves. Tend to want to take off with full mixture. It depends on the aircraft. You know, it depends on the altitude of the airfield. As you can see, this airfield's at sea level, so we should have pretty good air density. If it's a really hot day, you may not want to go full mixture, just because you're going to be doing a ton of you know, you're gonna have low air density and you're gonna be feeding it too much fuel. You might want to lean out a hair on a hot day. So I did exactly kind of what, you know, one of the things that I would tell a student not to do is you want to have your... So right here, as we cross the numbers, that's when we put our gear down. If it's it's a complex aircraft, here we're gonna go ahead and we'll go to half flaps. And we're going to continue out. I want about 45 degrees off of my shoulder there before I do my base leg. See, I was way too close to my downwind. This is a more appropriate downwind. Still not 45 degrees. I kind of want to keep this a realistic pattern. With this low, long wing, you see, I keep having to dip the wing to see. That's normal. Let's go ahead and turn our base leg. I'm going to keep the throttle up a little bit. I don't know kilometers to knots off the top of my head. So we're on our base leg. Let's go ahead and slow down a little bit. We're on our base leg. Let's go ahead full flaps. We're going to be a little high, but we have a nice long runway, and I'm not concerned with it. So I can't really see out of my window, which is fine. You get that in real life. You have to kind of move the aircraft to see. Perfect, beautiful final here. I'm about right. That's a little bit low. It would be nice if we had some VASIs. VASIs are visual approach lighting instrument, I believe. You know, you can use those to see your glide slope. And so it's essentially just a couple lights. You can see your glide slope. It's PAPI, there's VASI. Alright, so I'm gently coming off the throttle. You notice those two big squares. Those are my aiming bars. I'm aiming at my aiming bars. I'm not really looking at my airspeed. I'm just kind of feeling it out. And so whoa. That's just a me issue, not knowing how this aircraft's going to behave. So that's certainly not a aircraft issue, that landing. Is my brake on? Nope. Parking brake release. What did I do? So I might have hit too hard and bonked the landing gear. That could be a me issue. That seems like a me issue. Wasn't the most graceful landing. Again, I didn't know how much I could flare this, so I kind of probably put, you know, a little bit more practice in this. I'd probably do a little bit better, but I wasn't 100% sure how much flare I could do. Flare is when you're coming into land, you pitch your nose up, giving yourself a little bit of extra lift at the end so that you put the mains on. The other thing is this being a tail dragger, kind of afraid to hit that nose wheel, so I was trying to do that. As you can see, I collapsed the landing gear when I landed, so that was a me problem. You know, if I did a couple patterns in this, I'd probably be a little bit better and know its flight characteristics a little bit. But I really like this a lot. This feels like a real aircraft to me. I like that it rests on its outriggers like it would in real life. Very cool airplane. I like it. It's very deliberate. It feels like a real small general aviation aircraft to me, and I like that a lot. Flight characteristics are excellent. Felt very realistic to me. I like that a lot. The only issues, maybe a little bit, they're not really huge issues, is visibility suffers a little bit with this XML edited window here just because it's tough to see out of. But again, it's incredibly hard with these tiny builds to make them work perfectly. You know, you see how much XML has to go into this just because to make a real thin aircraft, you have to hide so many components. It's tough, but again, excellent work on this. I really enjoyed it. Really had a lot of fun operating this. So let's go ahead and we will go to the next one here. So this is going to be very much of a sky video here. So next vehicle is going to be the SA-175 Avalanche-Turboprop Airliner. It kind of reminds me of a King Air 350. Never got to fly the King Air. Very cool. Let's read some of this picture here. Up to 1100, top speed 312 knots. Knots, I like to see knots. 36 passenger capacity. Very cool. A little bit of a longer video just because of, you know, again, being an aviation nerd and having, you know, aircraft tend to take a little bit of extra work. So here we go. We have Created by Jan. I did download the navigation equipment pack. I'm not going to go into that stuff. You know, if you would like me to review an individual component, I can do that. But again, you know, I could spend probably hours on this one vehicle. So introducing the SA-175 Avalanche. SA-175 Avalanche is a new generation of Skytech turboprop aircraft featuring a comfortable space cabin, sleek, modern, all-glass cockpit, new generation autopilot with ILS Autoland, and many more. Autoland is a nice feature, but again, any automation makes me bored. If you like this creation, please give it a like. I already did. Manual startup. I'll go ahead as we do it just to save some time. Autopilot. I'm not going to put the add-on on right now and do the autopilot, but you know, I saw some of this work as this was being built. Altitude hold, vertical speed hold. I like having a vertical speed hold option. That's how you actually do it in real life. You set your altitude, let's say you're at 10,000 feet and they tell you to go to flight level 370, you would spin in 370 and then you'd click vertical speed and you'd crank it up to, say, 2,000 feet per minute in a jet. It depends on how heavy you are, density, altitude, all these things to try to see how fast you should be climbing. Heading hold, VOR heading hold. I have yet to play with this VOR. I kind of am very interested in that. We're not going to get into it in this waypoint, but in this video, but very cool having a VOR in there. Waypoint, heading hold, ILS Autoland. Very cool to have an ILS. I went over that in one of my videos. Some stuff of the ILS. So pretty simple. If this sentence is your runway, and you're coming in to land this way, you have a localizer coming from the end of the runway that gives you your lateral navigation so that you can stay on course with the runway. Then on the near end of the runway, you have a glide slope, and that gives you a cone to stay in, which gives you a 3-degree approach path and allows you to get down to 200 feet above the airport. So let's say you had a cloud bank in at 300 feet and you had a ceiling of 300 feet. You come down at 200 feet and see the airport, you'd continue. At 100 feet, you'd declare your landing and you'd land. So it has auto land. Again, auto land's good for those who certainly that are new to aviation and don't have that much experience. Personally, I like to do everything myself, but that's just personal preference. But I really like that it has an ILS and a VOR. Change modes. Simply press altitude heading mode, confirm your changes. The autopilot work once the mode is selected. Autopilot. Again, we're not going to get in the autopilot in this video. VOR and ILS. To use this feature, you are required to have the navigation pack enabled. So it's downloaded, but I'm not going to use that right now. So you can go ahead and you can go through this. I'd love to review this another time. So if Sky would like, if you want to put in on the creation review that you'd like me to review the ILS and the VOR, you can just put that in as a message and I will do it in order, and I can even, if you want, I can take this vehicle back out and I'll just focus on just that. I just don't want to do too much. Really cool blueprint. I really like this. I like to do that for some of my stuff, just for screenshots and stuff is really cool. I won't go through the specs just because, again, the video is getting a little long, but there are the specifications. Again, they do. Sky does great work with these workshop pages. Really cool. Puts mine to shame, certainly. I would love to do more on mine, but it's just time is of the essence. Very cool screenshots. I like all the branding and everything else. Please do not upload the credits. Thanks to Olli and Serpentine for the amazing trailer. Additional thanks to Carnival for help with some final testing. We have some Carnival planes and vehicles coming up soon. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and off screen, I'm going to put on the startup procedure and we'll go ahead and we'll go through it. All right, so here's the Avalanche. Go ahead and go through this pretty quick here, just running a little on time. Beautiful, beautiful nose shaping on that. That can often be a challenge to get good nose shaping, and then especially trying to get gear to look nice and also be able to fit up into gear wells is a challenge, so that's always nice to see. Have turbine inlet on the bottom there. I like that. Great detailing on that, looking like access panels. Very cool. We have emergency window detailed there. So on the front of these turboprop aircraft, you often have boots. Boots are inflatable, pneumatic. They're usually rubber, and what they'll do is they'll inflate. So you'll let them get caked with ice, and then you'll activate them. They'll inflate. They'll break the ice away, and the ice will fall off. So simulating boots on the front with the black. That's why they color black. We have winglets on the tips. We have control surfaces. We have flaps underneath. I forget. I can't recall what type of flap that is. Nice tail shaping. Tail shaping can be difficult. It would be nice if they would give us some more blocks. I really like the detailing on the tail as well. You know, panels. Often you have access panels in there so you can get in after your cables and whatnot. Nice T-tail. It looks like we might have an APU. It looks like APU exhaust. I'm not sure. Just kind of a skag on the tail. Very nice detailing here. Let's look at the mains. And the wells for the mains. Very nice. Good detailing on that, as usual. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and let's jump in. So just kind of like the King Air 350, I think. We have a rear entry door here. Air stairs are tough to do in game. Might play with air stairs at some point, try to get them. Nice, very nice galley in the back here. Good detail in here. Looks like cabinetry and coffee maker there. We have lights, dome, main cabin. Looks like a lav here. Very cool economical use of space. I like the door detailing there. I like the floor lighting. This is how you'd have your floor lighting for emergencies and whatnot. Let's go ahead and look in here. Toilet, very cool. Very nice use of space in this. You know, it's not a tiny aircraft by any stretch of the imagination, straight across, but it has very economical use of space. Door on the other side. Lots of seating. As you see, the seats are numbered, so they should be able to be used with Stormlink. Have some equipment up here. Go ahead and go into the cockpit. So really good economical use of space. A lot of nice tricks to get everything in here. Jump seat. Looks like a kit bag. That's probably so kit bag is where you keep all your charts. Nice looking rudder pedals here. You have generally, you know, a lot of these will have electric rudder pedals that slide in and out. All right, so let's go ahead and sit down. Let's do main battery on. Main battery on. So I'll kind of go through some of these in the back. Generally, you want to, the way that they do them in real life is you'll put things that you'll touch like once and you don't want to accidentally shut off, like your APU and all this stuff. You put towards behind you where you kind of have to lean back to do because you don't want to be touching those all the time. Engine starts are like that, so good. This guy generally does a really good job of putting things where they should be. So let's go ahead and try to find these things. Try to find my, so this is all my icing system. Again, as you see, this is how these things should generally be done, is you want to have them in sets. So like you see, all my anti-icing is in one area. And so that would be the FO's job, or the FO's responsibility would generally be this anti-icing because it's right by them. You tend to split up the duties. So you have you see the heat and temperature controls are all segregated together. Probably hydraulic B engine pump, hydraulic A engine pump, ADIRs, fuel pumps, avionics, tanks, pumps, so all the fuel is isolated, engine masters, fire suppression, main battery aux, this is all APU, so that's your cross bleed air. So to start the engines, you'll often you'll start your APU, which is an electric start, then you'll cross bleed, essentially you'll open a valve, let bleed air off the turbine, off of the APU, come, and that will actually blow the turbine section of the it'll actually blow the I can't recall if it blows the turbine section or blows the compressor section. I would say it probably blows the turbine section because even bleed air is very hot, so you probably won't want hot bleed air going into the compressor section until that heated up itself. And then you have APU bleed air, turn off lights, cockpit lights, APU fuel pump. Okay, where's APU start? Okay, right there. So I'd say, yeah, fuel pump next to the start makes sense. Fuel dump valves, taxi lights. All right, and there are my valves. So let's go ahead and do main battery on. Oh, I accidentally clicked it off. So we get some ADIRS warning, anti-ice, a low pressure warning. So that's good. We actually get a low hydraulic pressure because hydraulic system is not on yet. So that's good. That's fine. We'll leave the aux battery off. Let's find our avionics. So this is all our autopilot. That's generally where it is, right there. I'm just kind of going through here, checking the things that I haven't checked. It should be on this. I imagine it's on the top screen, but I'm just kind of going through, just checking everything so that I know where it is, so that when I come back through, I'm there. So avionics, we're going to find, turn off APU bleed air, lights cockpit, APU air bleed, fire suppression, hydraulics, cabin heat. Try to do this methodically so I don't miss it. APU fire, engine 2 master, NAIs, ADIRs, APU. Avionics right there. Okay. So avionics is on. Trying to see. Okay, APU fuel pump on. Okay, good. So we have to actually do our APU, which is what I like to see is that you need your APU to start. APU fuel pump is on. APU on. I'm just listening for that. ADIR's on. So I thought, there we go. I can hear the APU starting. Sounds like a turbine. Generally, they're in the tail. Yep. It would be nice if we could get a small turbine so that we could do proper APUs, so that we don't have to have huge APUs, but that would be a request to the devs. All right, APU ADIRs. I saw the ADIRs, and if I could find it again, that would be great. That's the problem, is just trying to find things again. I think it's in the front, towards the front here. I'm trying to do it methodically and not miss it here. There's ADIRs. ADIRs is on. Hydraulics ABC on. So I don't know if I'm turning them all on, or if I assume I'm turning them all on. They're not generally segregated systems. You generally turn them all on. Then if you had a hydraulic leak or an issue, you'd shut them off. Lights is required, so probably let's turn our beacon on. Want to do our beacon before we start the engine, so there we go, beacon. Beacon's coming on. Tank valves left, central, right open, so we'll leave the crossfeed on. We're not going to crossfeed. Left, central, right tanks are on. Engine pumps 1 and 2 on, so I saw those. Let's go. I think they're probably up here. Fuel dumps. Crossfeed. So they should be by the engine, generally. That doesn't mean that it's wrong if they're not there. So those are there. Fuel pumps, often you have to kind of put them where they put them too. They've gotten better over the years of putting things right next to each other, but doesn't always mean that's what they're gonna do. Where are we at here? I'll find it eventually here. I'm trying to not skip anything. Where are fuel pumps? Lights. So many lights that it's... Give me a second. Let me get under the panel. That should be... Oh, come on. It should be easier for me to do it here. Engine 1, fuel pump. 1 and 2 are on. Okay, parking brake set. Check. Let's check that. There's toggle parking brake. Parking brake is on. Follow one of the following. Okay, so we have a couple start. So I'm going to do a APU bleed air start, and then I'm going to do a cross bleed. Be a little bit in depth, but I think it'll be fun. So that's not generally. Generally, you'd start off the APU on both engines. Cross bleed start you would tend to do if you have an APU, if your APU is an operative. So we've had that before where we'd use ground power. Our APU is an operative. And then we'd have to use a huffer cart to start one of the engines. So you actually have a cart that blows air into the engine to get it started. And then once you have one engine started, you can either huffer cart the other one. You generally don't, because you'd have to have them drag the huffer cart over there and hook up. It's better for you to taxi out and then use your cross bleed. So you'd use air from the other engine to start the other turbine. So let's go APU, APU bleed air start. So APU bleed air. APU is running, bleed air is on. Let me see. Okay, APU running, check. APU air bleed on, check. Engine master 1, 2 on. Okay. Engine master 1, 2 on. We'll do 1. Alright, so let that turn up. Checking my N1 on my first turbine. Here's NG and MP. I'm used to N1 and N2, but I also just do turbines. I don't do, it's really probably not an N1 section on a turboprop. I don't know how they display that. I've only flown jets. I haven't flown turboprops. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's do a crossblade for the other engine. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shut my APU down. So air bleed is coming off. Where's APU? APU and APU fuel pump are coming off. Let's crossblade the other one as though we started with a huffer cart. So engine, one of them running. Yep, air crossbleed on. So let's find the bleed valves for, let's cross feed. Let's find the bleed valves for the engines. Where are the bleed valves for the engines? I know I'm kind of all over the place, doesn't help. Air crossbleed. So it must be this air crossbleed. Air crossbleed on engine master 2. And here we're starting 2, so we're going to check our probably NG. Generally we watch N1. Can't remember if we watch N1 or N2 on start. Alright, so 2's fired up. We are probably hitting the wall now because of the way the game is. Alright, air crossbleed is off, so I'm taking forever to start this, so hopefully we don't have issues. Engine running, check, air crossbleed off. Okay, so crossbleed starts complete. Mid-air restart, we have a ram air start. Okay, so let's go ahead and check. I think, yeah, I'm up against something. This is going to suck to get this out. Crap. Let's do this. I know this sucks, but yeah, if you leave it in the hangar, they tend to slide. I don't know if the XML gripped the wheels. I found that XML gripping the wheels in the planes kind of reduces that. I should be able to get this thing started in 2 seconds here, hopefully. So let's go ahead. I'm going to do it out of order here just to get it going. Main battery on. Let's go ahead and we'll do APU start. Let's go ahead and we'll do the tanks. Let's go ahead and do the hydraulics. I'm just going to do a fast start so that I don't cause issues here with, because it moved me. It's certainly not this plane's fault. It's the game's fault. So, all right, let's go ahead and let's do APU crossbleed. Let's go start 1. ADRs needs to come on. Avionics needs to come on. And then engine fuel pump would help, wouldn't it? I'm doing out of order. It's not helpful. It really isn't. APU bleed air, engine master 1. All right, there we're pumping 1. Let me see if I can pump 2. I want to get out of the hangar before I hit the wall. You know, just in here so long, these vehicles like to jitter to the right. All right, so it sounds like both turbines are fired up. Let's go ahead and kill the APU bleed. Alright, APU is coming off. Could taxi out with the APU, but I don't want to do that. Autopilot. Alright, so no real taxi instructions, so I'll just go out on my own here. So we're going to go ahead and release the parking brake. Let's go ahead and check our H commands here. So 1 and 2 are throttles on this one. So just taxi out. Generally, sometimes, especially with these turboprops, you might even need to put the propellers into beta or even reverse a hair on the ground. You know, when you have your when you have your takeoff pitch on the props, it's still forward pitch, so you'll actually end up going too fast. Like when we were taxiing the Embraer, you know, it's not turboprop, it's a jet. You'd have to ride the brakes because even at idle thrust, it would essentially be pushing you along pretty well. So 80 roll, WS pitch, left right yaw steer, up down is soft brake. Okay. 1 and 2 are throttle up down. 3 push tuck, and 4 is toggle the thrust reverser. All right, so let's go ahead and taxi out. I did not see a takeoff procedure. So again, I'm going to make my own takeoff procedure. That shouldn't be hard, but I did not see one. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll taxi out a little bit here. Looks like it's it's not pushing me as much as it might IRL. So give it a little bit of a goose there. Flaps, let's go flaps to 20% off, and that's about, depends on degrees. I assume that's probably in percentage, not in degrees. Degrees often run, oh, I'm accidentally pushing up, down. Often you'd actually do, you know, some of them are in degrees, some of them in, you know, flap setting, like Embraer we had 9. What do we have? 9, 15, 20, 45, something like that, and it's on degrees. All right, so taxis very well. Yeah, again, I'm just getting, you know, in real life with an aircraft like this that's complex, you would be pretty busy. So again, I haven't checked all my gauges, which probably isn't the best thing to do. Let me quickly check manual trims. What is this? Cockpit lock, and I can't read what this is. Tell me what that is before I cause problems. Okay. Where's my gear? ILS. Toggle gear. Okay, and there's my gear indication. Okay, good. All right, so we're good to go. Let's go ahead and, again, it takes me longer to work on these more complex aircraft, especially, like I said, I'm an aircraft nerd, so aircrafts and trucks I'll tend to take a little bit of extra time. I'm just going to tap the brakes. That will help me turn a little bit here. All right, we're going to get ahead. I'll get on center line, and then we'll take off here. I didn't look at the gauges too much. Again, I'm not going to go into the VOR. I'll do that in a separate video if Sky would like me to. All right, let's go ahead and take off. Advance in the thrust. I'm going to rotate about, we'll go 90 to 100 knots. 80 knots. V1, rotate. Positive rate. Gears coming up. 200 something knots. We're high on knots, but I would put the flaps up. But we're accelerating nice and fast. So we're at 300 knots already. All right, so I'm gonna start actually pulling my thrust back here. I don't want to be going that fast. So 200 knots is about standard for trying to visually do it, but I'm also trying to descend. We climb pretty fast. We're already up in 2,000 something feet. So larger aircraft, faster aircraft like this, you want to keep an even bigger pattern. Generally, jet and turboprop aircraft do about 2,000 feet above pattern altitude is your pattern altitude. So we'll stay around 2,000 feet here. Not going to go into the autopilot in this video, but you know, I assume it works well. We have target altitude, we have target heading, we have our modes here: autopilot toggle, change altitude modes, set altitude. These are all our different mode selectors: confirm mode changes, vertical speed, VSI limiter, ILS reset, ILS auto land, autopilot on. Okay, so I'm just widening out my downwind here. I want to make sure that I don't cut in. You want to plan well when you're in a fast aircraft. The faster the aircraft, you always want to stay ahead of the aircraft, and you don't want to get behind it. So I'm actually descending too much. Coming in around 160 knots, good. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to dump in about 10% flaps. So I don't want to cut in. I want to extend my downwind. Again, we have 2 engines. You know, in a small single-engine aircraft, general aviation aircraft, you'll tend to want to keep it close in case you lose an engine. We have 2 engines with turbines. The likelihood we lose an engine with a turbine is very slim. All right, back up to 2,000 foot. We're going to go ahead, and I'm going to slow down. I keep pressing the wrong keys here. Let's go ahead. I'm used to up, down. Oh, don't stall me there, guy. A little bit touchy on, you know, I'm just doing a little bit more than I would IRL, and causing me problems here. So we're past the number. Actually, I'm not going to toggle the gear yet. Let's go ahead and go full flaps here to help me get a little bit extra lift here. Let's go ahead and turn our base leg. Should have checked the runway heading when I took off, but I didn't, just to set up my pattern a little bit better. It's hard for me to see where the hell it is now. Let me just check on the map. Okay, I'm doing all right. Hazy out there, so it's hard for me to see where the runway is. Let me do this. Let's go ahead. Yeah, well, weather's off. It's just hazy. I don't want to lose sight of this runway here. I'm starting to see it. Okay, good. Go ahead and put the gear down. Gear is down, 3 green. I already put it down. Good. All right, landing gear down, 3 green. Flaps are full. Should be doing lights. Okay, runway's in sight. Continuing. We're fast. Let's go ahead and slow down. I'm going to come in, approach, you know, generally in the jet, approaches would be around 120 knots. This is a little bit touchy on speed. It's hard for me to get really precise speed. I might like a little bit more precise speed on that, but it's not a big deal. You know, as you can see, it just, I'm coping all right. I just have to stay on top of it, and it's picking up speed a little bit faster than I like, but that's certainly not a big deal. That's just a preference thing. Center line, I'm just really eyeballing my speed. That's why my head's down. I would love track IR. So I'm aiming at my 2 squares there. Those are my aiming bars. All right, landing gear down, 3 green over the fence. Flaring, just dropping a tiny. You generally land in a turboprop and a jet with power on. You don't chop the power. See a lot of people complaining about that. They kind of do almost like a general aviation Cessna approach to how you land. And Stormworks, you need to land a little bit more like a jet or a turboprop. You want to have power come in. Yeah, a little bit touchy on the throttle would be my only complaint. You want to be careful. You know, it's like it boots me a little bit faster than I like. Like it has a little bit of a spool up time, which I'm cool with. Okay. I'm having issues with the nose wheel, but that's just me probably not friggin' remembering how to steer. All right, let me check the nose wheel here. Okay. It's I keep reverting to trying to do throttle with up down. Throttle is a little bit touchier than I would like. I'd like a little bit more granular control with my throttle, but my brakes aren't on, are they? No, I'm gonna run into problems here in 2 seconds. I'm trying to do 10 things at once here. Parking brakes on. I landed with the parking brake on. All right, that's a me problem. All right, so that's good. That's fine. That's a me problem. I don't know. I thought I shut the parking brake off, but that is a me problem. So really flies very well. Had a really, what is it doing now? Again, this is a Stormworks issue. If you go over 45 degrees in the wheel, you often have issues. One thing I might start adding in my aircraft is if I go to a certain, so that's cool too, the rudder is faked. It's one thing I might start doing in my aircraft is if I go to a certain amount on the rudder, I want it to brake, say 10% on that inboard wheel. So often what you'll do is when you're taxiing around, if I want to make a left turn, I'll go full rudder, and then I'll tap my left brake, and that will actually help spin me around. You have independent brakes on your main landing gear. But that was a me problem having that on. But this flies beautifully. I like just a little bit of a more granular control on the throttle. Like I was trying to come in at 120 knots, and if I would tap once, it was going up to like 127, which isn't a huge deal, especially in game. But I know Sky likes to aim for realism as well, so I would like just a hair of more granular control on the throttle. But beyond that, this is an excellent aircraft. Beautiful, very well designed, flies very well. Again, certainly nothing wrong with it at all. Again, that's just a nitpicky item, and I tend to nitpick because I know on these type of builds because I know that Sky aims for realism, and just kind of my opinion. I know Sky also flies, so I'm just gonna slam the parking brake on, and then I'll do a quick shutdown procedure on this, and then we'll jump into the last one. I know this is a little bit of a longer video, but as you can imagine. These aircraft, especially I try to give if somebody puts so much effort into a build and so much time and detail, like this is a very detailed build, that's just a character interaction problem. If you get too close to the pivot, they'll get stuck. So that's not a this build issue. That's a generally a character interaction problem. Generally, if somebody puts this much effort in a build, if it's a build that takes a year to build, I'm gonna put some more time into reviewing it. If it's a build that might have taken 3 days, I might put a little less time in it. It doesn't say anything towards the quality of the build or how much good work the person has done. It's just a little bit of me putting that a little bit of extra time in for something that might have taken that person a lot longer. Next one here is going to be the Desert Storm 8500 test. And so this is a train. As you can see, Desert Storm 8500 test by Nitro. PS, okay, get rid of that so I can see. PS, whatever you do, do not go over 80 in sharp turns. I can handle some semi-sharp turns. 150 little is a whip train, most likely to be posted in the workshop November 8th, 2022. All right, so here we have the Desert Storm 8500 on track here. So let's do a quick walk around here. So nice detailing on this, good color scheme. Desert Storm 8500, nice branding on there. This is cool detailing effect here. Bunch of heaters and some intakes. Very cool. Camera on the front. All right, let's go ahead and jump in this. And I can't use the ladder just because of the single part, but so which is the front? This must be the front. So I'm gonna just clip in because I can't get in. So looks like this is the extent of the interior. Let's go ahead, throttle WS space, set throttle to 0, lights 1, whistles 2, heaters, so lights, whistles. All right, let's go ahead, front coupler cam. Okay. I'm having to do this all by myself because there's no instructions. So. All right, it's nuclear. I don't know what scram is. If you don't label these things, I don't know what any of these are, so. Go ahead and brake override to 0. Let's WS to move. All right, so it looks like a nuclear electric drive. All right. Let's go ahead and speed kilometers, speed miles. So set about 80. So we're going backwards, but it's not trains generally can go both directions. So we'll keep it 80, as that was my instruction to not derail. And so there's a work in progress. So it looks like the trucks are set together in sets of, sets of 2. So working really well. Nuclear, it's nice and quiet. You can see the reactor in there, so that's kind of a cool and novel idea, having a nuclear train. Very cool. So go ahead. I'm just going to reduce my throttle. This is a little weird to me. This gauge isn't indexed. You see how it's overspinning, so I don't have any perception of where I'm setting it. So very cool. I look forward to seeing this when it is completed, as it is a whip at the moment. So very cool train. I like this a lot. Good detailing on it. Controls could use some work, but again, it's a whip, so I'm not gonna go in and do too much on that. A little bit more instruction would be helpful. This gauge to be indexed, so I know that, like, for example, if that was 0 and that's my negatives and that's my positives, then I can easily control it. But with this, as you can see, I'm kind of, I have to kind of watch it the whole time instead of just using the gauge. So the gauge is a little useless to me, where it would be nice if it was indexed. That would be helpful. So we'll just go ahead and we'll set our speed to 0. And we'll set the brake. All right, really cool build. I like this a lot. It's nice to see another train and a nuclear one at that is unique. All right, so we will go ahead and we'll go into our last build here. So this is the F-50 Diablo Raptor 1 revised 200 km/h plus speed. So let's go through the pictures. So this is a 1970s era looking car. I like these retros. Really cool. This is by Phantom Raptor. So description, the handbrake starts on top speed 140, F20 is fairly stable on the roads. So nice simple description and instructions. So let us hope that it is that simple to operate. All right, so let's go ahead. I dropped from an excessive height, but damage is off. Very cool looking. I really like the design elements of it. Good XML work on this. I assume there's XML on this. Yeah, those aren't 1.4s. Nice detailing on the lights and everything in the grill. A little bit of a teeth breaking window there. Very cool. Great shape to it. I really like it. It has that 70s design. What is that? Looks like a flat. All right, very cool. Let's go ahead and we'll jump in. It's other side drive. All right, let's go ahead and we'll quickly go through the dash here. Handbrake starts on fuel, RPS, engine temp, speed, ignition. After having some more complex, it's nice to get a little bit of a couple of simpler builds just to play with. So steering 80, WS throttle, space is brakes. Headlight, interior lights 1. Let's hit the brakes. Let's go 6, and we'll go in reverse. And we'll do a quick spin turn, see if I can't get right back into forward. Nope, I'm gonna stall it. That was what I expected. Generally, it's gonna stall you if you slam it in a reverse like that. Do a little bit of exterior. Very cool. Handles really well. As you can see, it's fun. It's what do we have there? Fueling in the back. Very cool. I like the aesthetics of this a lot. Really has that 70s feel to it. It's easy to drive and fun. It would be a great little build to get around with from base to base. Really cool. You know, the engine's not screaming at me, but it has a nice strong sound, so I can tell when I'm going fast because of the sound of the engine. I love the bumper work with those edge panels for the doors. Let's turn lights on again. I don't know if these are paintable. The front lights look really good. I don't know if my brake lights work or not. Let's tap them. Yep, brake lights work. Just I forgot it was spacebar. So very cool. I really like this a lot. It's a nice little, cool little car that's, you know, really good designing, very simple and easy to operate, which is nice. Every once in a while they have something that's a little on the simpler side. You know, I'm one of those people who tends to do a lot of detail and makes things overly, you know, potentially overly complicated myself, and so it's nice to every once in a while to get a simple one. So really great work, Phantom Raptor. That's an awesome little car. I like it a lot. Really nice retro design on it. I like the retros. So had some great builds this week. Very sky-centric focus week. A lot of planes. A little bit more on the detailing on those. So that's why this video is a little bit longer. I really like the nuclear train. Just, you know, a little bit more instruction and some indexing on the gauges would be nice. Again, you know, the builder of that did say that it is a whip. So you know, I certainly don't. I'm not going to go into criticisms of a whip very much. Just some ideas potentially for the future. But great little car. I really enjoyed that a lot. Olive skies, planes, and helicopter were great. A lot of great detail goes in that. So, you know, again, if a build has a ton of detail, I'm going to take the time to go through it. That's why those were a little bit longer. And then, you know, a simpler build would be a little bit quicker for me. So. I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate you watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you again to everybody who submitted. I really enjoyed trying out all your builds. Thanks.